Okay, let's get started. So today I will introduce you to our first author, Immanuel Kant. Maybe we will finish early. We'll see. Okay, so first of all, let me situate. What I'm going to do is two things. I'm going to situate the epoch that Kant is thinking in so that you can get a gist of the world that he's coming from. And then we'll get into his specific version of morality. We'll compare him to Hobbes. And then we'll go into some technicalities. So you will have some good vocabulary so that when you enter the text, you can navigate more or less easily. Okay, so first thing, so with Kant, we enter really modernity, right? We were, before Kant, you have, I guess, you know, there's four main epochs, right? In the history of philosophy, you have the ancients, then you have the medievals, the moderns, and we are, of course, in the postmodern era, right? So we will be doing, with Kant, we are doing modernity, and then we will be easing into postmodernity with Levinas and Irigaray and so forth. So, so modernity is coming out of medieval times, and the main difference between modernity and medieval times is the loss of the religious foundation of everything, right? In medieval times, ethics is founded on God, on scripture, right? Everything is coming from these texts, these sacred texts, and we follow because God said so, right? There's no question, there is no discussion, right? This is how it was done. So, and it's, of course, we'll talk about this when we compare with Hobbes and Kant, right? Medieval morality, but we are really with medieval morality in a coercive model, right? Morality is taught in a way as to scare people into being moral, right? If any of you have some experience with Catholicism, right, which was the dominant religion, actually not in Germany, but certainly had its influence. The idea is, right, if you're not a good person, you're gonna go to hell. So you better get your life together. So this was really medieval times, which was, of course, dominated by the Roman Catholic Church in terms of Christianity. And this was what was taught, right? You have to be moral, God said so. And in fact, being moral is going to deprive you of your freedom, your happiness, right? You have to make these efforts, work against the flesh, right? And if you don't, all of this will happen to you, right? So, by the way, just a little footnote on Nietzsche, right? Nietzsche, of course, is going to criticize this. If you're interested in doing a little bit of Nietzsche on your own, I would really suggest reading The Twilight of the Idols, where he's criticizing this kind of morality, which is coercive, which is going against everything that we are as human beings, is going against our passions, going against the flesh. And Nietzsche is going to offer really powerful critique of that. So that's in a nutshell, right? Morality, the moral world of the medieval times. You can jot down these few points, right? You have the first point is that morality is taught from God, right? We do not know what to do ourselves. We are, what is that? Okay. Right? We don't know what to do ourselves. We are corrupt by nature, and so we need some scripture to tell us what to do, right? That's the first point with medieval morality, right? We are not naturally moral according to Christianity. Remember, we are tainted by original sin, and so all of us right now are born of this original sin. So we don't know. Really, we are so messed up inside that we don't know what is the right thing to do. And so we need some revelation, we need some enlightenment from God, from scripture to guide us, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing, right, morality is seen in many cases, is experienced during this time of Christianity as a straitjacket, right? It's a morality of control. It's a morality where we have to constantly go against our desires, go against what Christianity calls the flesh. So there is really not much fun, right, involved in the Christian version of morality, since it's going against everything that we actually enjoy. If some of you saw The Devil's Advocate, did you, anybody? A long time ago, I know, with the Keanu Reeves and, was it De Niro? No, Al Pacino. Y'all don't even know these actors, right? Some of you do? Okay, thank you. Good. I don't feel too old now. Anyways, The Devil's Advocate, which you can watch if you're not too sensitive. I had to shut my eyes most of the movie, so, but it's a really good ending where the devil, embodied by Al Pacino, is talking to this young lawyer, Keanu Reeves, and says, you know, what kind of God creates all these pleasures and then forbids us from tasting them, right? So this is really, in a nutshell, the Christian morality as it was experienced by people at the time, where here are all these pleasures, but you are forbidden to engage in them. So nothing really, morality going against the instinct of happiness. So that's the second point, right? So first point, we are corrupt, we need to be taught. Second point, morality is therefore going to go against our happiness. It's a straitjacket, it's going against our passions, our desires, right? And finally, there's this coercive element where you better be moral or else, right? You're going to end up in hell. So that's the moral climate of the of the Middle Ages. Before the Reformation, where things got maybe I don't know if it got better, but it was different at least, right? So okay, so then we move now, and we're going to, so now we move into modernity, and we're going to really shed these religious relics, right? Modernity is known for its secular mindset. It's known for really its critique of religion, and in a way Nietzsche is ushering in modernity with his criticism. He's the first one to really virulently criticize without taking any how do you call this, without filter, just says things as they are, right? So there's really a backlash against religion, a backlash against authority. This is really modernity. These are the two things: backlash against religion, backlash against authority. And in a way, as postmoderns, we're still breathing this air, right, of against authority, at least, right? So this is still very much present in the postmodern mindset. We'll see. So anyways, so now we are looking more into, we're focusing more on ourselves in modernity, right? We are leaving behind God and the scriptures and the priests, and we are trying to to reconnect with what is good in us, with what is powerful in us. And this is, I think, a really good step forward that modernity did, is a move away from original sin. It's a move away from our corrupt nature. On the contrary, we are enlightened beings, according to modernity, right? We are inhabited by reason, by the light of reason. And through reason, we can move forward as a civilization. We can move forward as individuals, right? We are not originally corrupt. We are originally enlightened, according to modernity, right? So these are some differences. And of course, we are wanting to grow up in modernity. We don't want to be told what to do. And so we want to figure out on our own how to be moral. We don't want to rely anymore on some outside authority, right? So this is really the climate of modernity, which is of course fueled also by the scientific awakening that was taking place at that time, right? This is the time where we really awaken as humankind with this power, right? Which is the power of our reason to control the universe, right? This is really when we start to make progress as a civilization. We are not anymore submitted to the whims of nature. We can control nature, we can control disease, we can control weather, we can control everything pretty much, right? Through the proper use of our reason. So we are really, modernity is a time of coming of age of humanity. It's an awakening to our inherent power, to our inherent light, right? So you have, right? So it's a world where no more we will rely on religion or scripture, but we will rely on ourselves, on our reason, right? So that's a very important step here with modernity. Yes, there's also with modernity an incredible optimism that we can eventually, if we think hard enough, solve all of the problems. Right? So whether it's the problems of disease or pandemics, or whether it's, you know, the whims of nature, weather, drought, maybe climate change, right? We really believed at the time, and maybe we still do to a certain degree, that we can really eventually create a perfect world for ourselves if we just continue to develop the faculty of reason. So this was this amazing optimism at the time, fueled by the successes of science, that we could eventually create a perfect world, right? Of course, when World War I and World War II happened, we fell down from our illusions that we were capable of this. But before, people really believed, and you have even in the writings of Hegel, this kind of powerful optimism that we are moving towards the bettering of the human race. So this was really typically modern, that we are progressing because we have found this powerful, this power, right? This innate power of reason. The belief was really genuine that we are actually bettering ourselves. After the 2 world wars, we realized, okay, maybe we have intelligence, but there's something that we don't have, because clearly we're going backwards, right? So this really kind of made everyone pretty cynical about any type of progress. And I'm sure this generation is one of the most pessimistic ones with regards to whether we're headed in the right direction or the wrong direction. We're pretty cynical as to where we are headed as a world, right? And this is coming out of these 2 world wars. We have awakened to the fact that we don't have what it takes to create a perfect world. We might be smart, but we're missing something, right? We can't do it. But anyways, back to modernity. At the time, yes, we believed anything could happen, right? So this was progress of science. And of course, the moral philosophers thought, well, maybe we can follow in the footsteps of science and create the perfect human being, right? So just like science says, we can create the perfect world, right? Where everything is, we have, perfect buildings, we have a cure for all illnesses, we can create food for everyone, right? This is really what we are still in a way capable of doing. And the moral philosophers followed in the footsteps and said, well, maybe we can also create the perfect human being. If we just educate people, or if we just refine them and cultivate them, perhaps we can reach the perfect human being, right? Again, right? These are illusions that we have lost now, right? But at the time, they really believed that. And one of the people who was in the forefront of this belief was Hobbes, right? Thomas Hobbes. So let me talk a little bit about him, because we're going to compare him to Kant, so you can see the contrast, very interesting. And then we'll get into Kant. And I'm moving so fast, it's terrible. We're going to finish in a half hour. Okay. All right. So Hobbes, if you want to read what I'm about to say, you should get his book, The Leviathan. The Leviathan, what does that mean? Leviathan, let me spell it for you. Leviathan, Leviathan. Or is that how you say it? Can some American tell me how to say this? Leviathan, is that anybody?
I think that's right.
Is that right? Leviathan, like that? Or Leviathan? Okay, thank you. So good. So this is his massive work, right? The Leviathan, of course, is a name of an ancient sea monster. It's a big, huge beast, kind of like a dinosaur, right? And of course, the Leviathan represents the state for Hobbes, right? But I won't go into that because I'm going to go into his moral philosophy. So Hobbes actually has a similar starting point with Christianity, interestingly, but then he's going to veer off. So let's see, first of all, what he's trying to do. Hobbes is a modern. He knows that nobody will buy authority anymore. Nobody is scared of hell anymore, right? So what do, right? There's no more hell. There's no more authority. There's no incentive really to become moral. So he's pondering, how do we now move forward in a world where we don't have any more God, right? In a world where God has died, right? To use the expression of Nietzsche. We are really, with Hobbes, with modernity, in the Nietzschean fantasy, right? If you recall Nietzsche, when he wrote the text, I think it's the gay science, where he says, God is dead, the open sea lies before us, right? One of the most beautiful quotes by Nietzsche. And he was anticipating modernity, where God is no more a factor. And then now what, right? And Nietzsche is really excited. It's like, yes, now we can create our values, right? But Hobbes is, kind of pondering, like, yeah, okay, but how? How do I create morality now that there's no more God looming over me and kind of, pressuring me to be good? So he thought, let me do it like this. Since people are enlightened, people are adults, people are not scared of hell anymore. They want to be their own thing. What I need to do, I cannot coerce them, but I can seduce them into wanting to be moral. So Hobbes is really going to take a seductive approach, not a coercive approach like the medieval approach, but a seductive approach. He's going to say, let me reason with people to the point that they actually want to be moral. I'm going to make a case for morality so that people will actually be like, yes, I want to do it, whether there's a hell or not. It's not because I'm scared, it's because I have a good incentive to do it. So here's how he did it. So he begins like this. He says, let us imagine a world where there is no morality. Can anyone tell me what that would look like? No rules, nothing, nobody telling you what, no cops, no government, nothing. What would happen? Yes. Chaos. All right, The Purge, yes. You heard me on this already. Yes, have you seen The Purge, the movie? It would be like that, right? Well, according to Hobbes. Some people beg to differ, right? Someone like Rousseau would say, oh, it would be perfect. We would be naturally good, right? But Hobbes actually says, no, no, no. No morality, no rules, no cops, no police, no government, chaos. Everybody will kill everybody. Everybody will steal from everybody. There will not be any limit placed on our greed. Because for Hobbes, we are naturally greedy. And in fact, he has a quote in his book where he says, in Latin, but the translation is, man is a wolf for man. Make sure you write this down. Man is a wolf for man, right? So he says, this is who we are. We are naturally ferocious. We are naturally greedy. We are naturally wanting to take everything for ourselves, to devour. I mean, if you've seen a pack of wolves and you have a carcass, you have no chance to get to that carcass. They're going to push you. They're going to eat you, right? So this is for Hobbes, we are inherently savage, right? We are inherently beastly. And so he's aware of that. And he realizes, I can't really force these people, but I'm going to seduce them into being moral. And the way he does this is really pretty intelligent. He says, what I'm going to do is I'm going to appeal to the wolf in us. I'm not going to try to, crush the wolf or repress the wolf like Christianity, right? I'm not going to do that because the wolf is always going to be there, hiding, ready to bounce, to spring. So I'm going to actually have, I will communicate with the wolf and I will seduce the wolf into wanting itself as a wolf to be moral. So he says this. Let us imagine a world with no rules, complete chaos. He's talking to the wolf, right? And the wolf is like, yeah, that wouldn't be good, right? I mean, in a world with complete chaos, can you be happy? Can you be peaceful? Can you be at ease? No, right? You're terribly unhappy. You're scared all the time. You have to have maximum security in your house. You can't go in your backyard. You can't go to the park. You're really limited, right? So he's speaking to the wolf. He says, wolf, look at the world without morality, how unhappy you would be as a wolf. And the wolf is like, yeah, that's true. I want to be happy, right? And he says, now look at a world where there is morality. Look how everyone is safe. Look how everyone can have their property and no one will take it. Look how we can cooperate and build together so that we have a more comfortable homes and more comfortable cities. Now, oh wolf, don't you think it would be good if we were all moral? Wouldn't you as a wolf be much more comfortable and happy in that context? And the wolf is like nodding, yeah, that would be better. And so now the wolf is gonna act morally, right? For the sake of its own greed, right? Now the wolf can accumulate in peace. It can take whatever within certain limits, but it can accumulate, it can have property, it can be safe, it can eat at its fill. And so that's how he does it. He actually seduces the wolf into acting moral. So the wolf is still wolf, still greedy, still wanting to have what it wants, but now it does it within this structure where everything remains orderly and harmonious and his own life and property is protected, right? So, yes.
I don't have a better counter, but I think that that's not really long-term sustainable because eventually the wolf will see another wolf, maybe making a mistake, not even on purpose, but doing something that isn't part of this code. And then the wolf will be like, wait a second, now my protection and safety are at risk. So I'm going to now go back and also be vicious and back to my regular way so that I don't lose my safety.
But that's where the state comes in, right? For Hobbes, the state ensures, the state and the military ensures that everyone is correct, right? And when you enter this state, right, you forfeit you forfeit your freedom. So there's a strong repressive apparatus, right, that can control everybody. So it's not just me, and then if he's stronger, he's gonna eat me up, right? No, in the state, strong, weak, the state is the one who is strong and controls everything, right? So no, there's no chance, right? That's why he says we need a strong state with a good military so that all our liberties are protected, all our properties. This is the United States, right? We're right into the Hobbesian structures, right? This is exactly it. Our mentality as Americans is exactly this. We are wolves, right? But we want our little wolf property to be protected. And so we will pay our taxes, we will, right, follow the rules, because that is how we can remain comfortably wolf-like. But we still wolves, right? Now, I think I gave it away. What is the problem with this morality? Because Kant is going to criticize this. What's missing here? What's the problem? I mean, we have orderly society. Everyone is keeping the rules. Everyone is paying taxes. Everyone is happy and prosperous. It works to a certain degree, right? But what's the moral problem here? What's missing? So you give a pragmatic, like it's not possible, but I'm looking at what's missing on the moral level here. How is this not functioning actually in terms of morality? What is missing here? What's the problem? Yes, Rachel.
Choice to be good. You're almost
you choose to enter this system. You can stay out over there in the jungle and be eaten up, no problem, right? But if you enter, you choose to enter. Yeah, you forfeit, but you have chosen that, so you're still free, right? Because you chose it. So no, the choice is there. Yes.
Like you chose it, but like still not from heart.
There you go. Absolutely, right? You're still a wolf, right? So this morality is a kind of it's a show, right? It's a mask, right? You're wearing, right? You're a nice wolf, right? But you're still a wolf. You're a wolf that comes, opens the door, a wolf that, carries the little lady's groceries. But you deep down, you're still a greedy, right? Savage, egotistic beast, right? So really this morality doesn't sink very deep. And that's what Kant will criticize. He will say, you're not touching the heart here of the moral condition, which is greed. The wolf is moral out of greed. Do you follow? It's kind of cool the way Hobbes did it, because he kind of worked with the wolf. He said, here, you are greedy. Here, let me work with that greed and make you a good person, right? So that's kind of smart. But Kant is like, you're not touching the core of immorality, which is this greed. We are still immoral, although we are acting morally. We are acting morally for immoral reasons, right? That's the problem. Are you following? Okay, I saw a hand somewhere. Yes, Rahman? No, okay. So make sure you write this down, right? That for Hobbes, so the problem, right? Even though it's smart, I mean, really, it's smart. It's appealing to the wolf. It's targeting exactly the part of the wolf which is the most powerful, which is the greed. So this is, hey, by the way, this is capitalism, right? This is we are going to inspire people to work hard for the sake, right, of them accumulating wealth and so forth. So, and society, of course, will be full of hardworking people, but we will make our society, we will build it from this inherent greed that we all have, right? So it's very, very similar to where we are today. It's really a morality based on greed, right? So it's smart, it's intelligent, because it's capable of moving the wolf in the direction of an orderly society, but it's never really hitting the core, the moral core of the person remains beastly and savage, right? This morality is just an artifice. It's just a show. It doesn't sink into the person or the personhood of the person. Okay, so now let's see what Kant has to say, right? Before let me just now contrast. I'm making this, I would write it on the board, but I don't feel like getting up. So we have the 4 points of the Middle Ages. Remember, let me remind you, right? We have the, we are corrupt, right? Morality is not natural. Then the second point was, what was the second point? Somebody tell me. Yeah, morality is connected to happiness, right? I'm sorry. Morality goes against happiness. Is that what I said? What did I say? No, that's the third one. That's the third one. What's the second one? Yeah, exactly. Morality is going against our happiness, going against our freedom. And the third one was is a coercive model, right? Now watch Hobbes, very similar, but a little different. Hobbes is the same basis. We are corrupt. We are not naturally moral. We are wolves. He gives and he describes, right? Second one, however, is different. Morality here is to produce happiness, right? Unlike Christianity, where morality seems to inherently go against happiness, right? For the sake of being holy, right? Here, Hobbes is going to say, no, no, no. Morality is actually a tool to become happy, right? So here we are clearly in a more incentive-based or utilitarian model, right, of morality, where it's based on incentive to be happy, right? It's not seductive, you can say, right? This is a seductive model versus coercive model, right? And pretty intelligent. I give him props, right? But, right, make sure you write this down. This is, and Kant will say this, it's not hitting, is not really making us moral, right? It's making us behave in a moral way, but deep down we remain wolves, right? Nothing changes. We're still greedy, egotistic, self-centered. We still have no concept of anything beyond ourselves, and so forth. So Kant now comes in, right? And he is very interesting because he's going to be a blend of the Christian and a blend of the Hobbes model, right, of the modern model. And this is not surprising since Kant came from a Christian background, right, but also was very, very seduced by the whole climate of rationality that modernity was about. So Kant is going to say something very interesting. He's going to say, actually, and this is where he's, I think, really saying something interesting. He'll say, actually, I don't believe we are inherently bad. And this, I think, is really powerful. He's saying, yeah, part of us is greedy, but there's another part of us, he says, which is deeply, deeply interested or it's a kind of longing or it's an urge for what Kant calls the good, beyond just my self-interest. We all have this kind of higher desire, right, for something higher than just my own happiness, right? We all have the capacity to be sacrificial at times, to be altruistic, to go beyond our happiness, and not just to get something in return, right? So he's sensing, right, that we are, and at the same time, we're very greedy and wolf-like. He acknowledges that, right? So he's saying we're kind of like a dual personality. We are a hybrid between the wolf and this kind of higher moral sense where we are, in a way, striving, sometimes, not always, but at times we can see in human behavior actions which have nothing to do with selfishness, right? Actions of sacrifice, actions of abnegation, actions of altruism. So he's saying clearly there's something in us which is leaning towards the higher good or the true moral the decision, right? So and just to go into terminology, which you'll find in the reading, for Kant, he calls these two sides instinct and reason. And we'll talk more about reason in a bit, but instinct and reason. So instinct is the part of us which is, the wolf, trying to get everything we want for ourselves. But part of us also wants something more. And that's what Kant is interested in exploring, right? In this groundwork for the metaphysics of morals. He's like, I want to explore that part of us. It hasn't been spoken about. We have only had exterior models imposed on us, right? Whether it's the Christian model or Hobbes, telling us, or the utilitarian model, but we have never really explored this part of us, which seems to be naturally inclined to morality. So let me say that again. And this is really the brilliance of Kant here. He's saying here, what I want to do in this work is explore this still unexplored part of us, which seems to be inclining towards something more than just happiness or greed and so forth. And so the whole book really is an exploration of that part where he begins to describe it, to name it, to show how it's working, how it's functioning. And so it's very interesting to really spend some time to explore that part. And we will notice that this part is this faculty in us, which is relational, right? I think I mentioned that in the introduction, that reason, remember, this is very important. Reason for Kant It's not your brain power. It's not you making little calculations like 1 + 1 = 2 or logical syllogisms, right? Reason is to be distinguished from understanding. We'll talk about that in a bit. Understanding is the part of us that can do math and science and so forth, but reason is different. Reason is relational. It's the part of us which is moving beyond ourselves. We'll see, I'm just anticipating, towards other human beings, right? This is a sensibility to the humanity that surrounds us. We'll talk about that, right? Let me say that again. Reason is really, I guess I would equate it to the voice of conscience, right? Because the voice of your conscience, you will notice, always has to do with people. Well, no, sometimes you eat a burger and you're like, I shouldn't. That doesn't have anything to do with people. So it's not that type of voice of conscience, but this particular voice, right, of reason has to do with a sensibility, an awareness, an acute consciousness of the humanity of other people and the burden to protect that humanity. And we'll talk about that. Don't worry if you don't understand yet, you will see in great detail. So yeah, so we have these two sides, instinct, reason. So we are not just fallen creatures or not just wolves, right? We have both. And this is, I think, the originality of Kant. And so now we see how for Kant, teaching morality, writing about morality is never going to be artificial because part of us will resonate with that. You see what I'm saying? The wolf with Hobbes is never going to resonate with morality. It's always forcing itself so that it can be happy, right? So it's like, you know, it's putting on a smile and you can still see, you know, these teeth that, the canine teeth, right? It's smiling, but you can still see the canines, right? So, but with Kant, he's saying, no, when I'm writing about morality and when we are taught morality, actually this part of us is actually very much resonating with that because part of us is naturally inclined towards it. So this is where he's different from both Hobbes and Christianity, because for Kant, morality is to a certain degree natural to us and innate, inherent to us, innate, I-N-N-A-T-E, right? So unlike Christian morality and Hobbes, where morality is coming from the outside, right? Christianity, morality coming from God. Hobbes, morality is coming from, you know, the need to be happy. Some of is coming from the consequences you see that could happen if you were happy. It's coming from the outside, right? You're moral because you see, moral. If I'm moral, this and this and this and this will happen in my life, right? So it's not coming from you. It's coming from, I want that, therefore I am moral, right? So the incentive is outside for Hobbes. Make sure you get this because this will come up again. The incentive is outside for Hobbes. It's situated as a kind of bait. I'm going to be happy, therefore I'm moral. It's not coming from you. You don't care. You couldn't give a damn about morality as a wolf, right? But for Kant, something in us is naturally moral. Something in us is naturally leaning towards that. And here's where, and so the last point, of course, is that this morality, because it is so different from greed, right, will sometimes go against our instinct of greed, right? So there, for Kant, there is an inner struggle that we don't find in Hobbes or Christianity. In Hobbes, we're pure wolf, no struggle. In Christianity, we're pure fallen, no struggle. But with Kant, the part of us that is moral will sometimes be at odds with the part of us that is wolf-like, and there will be an inner struggle. And sometimes reason will prescribe to us to move against our own happiness, right? So morality will be independent of any result for Kant. And this is what it means to be deontological, DE/ontological, right? Deontological morality is a morality which is based on the inside of me and not on some kind of incentives outside of me or threats outside of me, right? This is also, we'll see with Kant, the difference between autonomous morality and heteronomous morality. We'll see all these words later, right? But you can already write them down. So deontological versus utilitarian. I am moral because I know it to be the right thing to do, not because there's something in the world that is baiting me to be moral, right? Or something in the afterlife that is baiting me to be moral, right? It's coming from within. And in that sense, it is de-ontological, meaning the morality is not dependent on something, on external causes. It's not dependent on things outside of me. It's flowing from me, right? Whereas for Hobbes, clearly, I'm moral because, nice, comfortable home, right? It's coming from the outside. The incentive is coming from the outside. Good. Okay. Any questions so far? We did it. I'm going very fast. I know. So any questions, clarifications, or comments about anything I said? Okay. Going a little further now into the Kantian terminology. So I'm throwing out all the vocabulary you will need, right? So we already learned in Kant instinct, reason, just adding a couple more. Happiness and the good, right? So instinct is interested in happiness, right? There's the wolf part of us, which is after happiness. So anytime you read about happiness in Kant, you can be sure this is not the highest purpose we should be striving for, right? It's kind of a low wolf-like purpose for Kant, the urge to be happy. But then reason is the part of us which is yearning or moving towards what Kant calls the good, right? So we have four concepts. Reason, which moves towards the good, which we still have to figure out what it is. We don't know, right? What does it mean to want the good? What is this good? Is it to be nice? Is it to, right? We're going to study that, right? But right now, he's still just giving us the two main orientations of our nature. And then we have instinct, which is leaning towards happiness, right? Now going a little deeper in the terminology, I want to distinguish also between instinct, reason. I want to add understanding. Now you will have a full picture of the works of Kant, right? Understanding. So in this next section, I want to distinguish between understanding and reason. Okay, we've just talked about reason and instinct. Now I want to distinguish reason with understanding, so you can have a clear distinction. So it's very simple. Understanding is our brain, is the part of us which loves to study life, the world, math, physics, chemistry, biology. That's understanding, right? It's the part of us which is constantly exploring the world, wanting to figure it out, right? So understanding is really interested in what Kant calls, these are important concepts, the phenomenal realm. Phenomenal, P-H-E-N-O-M-E-N-A-L, phenomenal realm. Phenomenon means what appears in Greek, right? We are interested in what is here before us. What is visible? What is, period, right? So that's understanding. Going out, exploring what is, I-S, right? Going out and exploring the phenomenal world of what is visible, palpable, audible, right? This is what our understanding does. This is the scientific mindset, the mathematical mindset, and so forth. But then he says there is a deeper part of us. There is another dimension, which is reason. Reason, on the contrary, is not going to be exploring what is, but will be exploring what ought to be, right? So reason is interested in what ought to be, not in what is, right? And this realm of the ought doesn't exist in this world, correct? Right? When you have this idea, I shouldn't kill. Look around you. Everybody's killing everybody, right? You're not getting this idea from this world because this world is ruthless, right? We are constantly killing. I mean, we finish one war and we start another. Did you notice that? We just came out of Afghanistan. I just had to say this. And now we're in the Ukraine, right? So, and then I'm hearing from a student of mine, maybe Somalia, right? So we have plans already for a new war. This is us, right? Typical human nature. And so the what ought to be, says Kant, is not, we are not deriving this from this world, right? When it says don't cheat, look around, everybody cheat. Right? Everybody and their mother, right? So we're not learning this from life. Life is teaching you everybody is cheating. We should cheat, or we should steal, or we should kill, right? When you look around, this is the dominant influence. And so Kant is saying, how do we know about this ought, right? And he says, well, because we are tapping into a deeper dimension, which he calls the noumenal. Alors, I'm spelling it, noumenal, N-O-U-M-E-N-A-L. This is a deeper dimension that we are also a part of, that we are also, like Kant would say, a citizen of, right? We are not just citizens of the natural world. We are not just citizens of what is. We are also citizens of another kingdom. This is the kingdom of what ought to be. This is the noumenal kingdom, right? And so we are, in a way, the reason we know what ought to be is that we are tapping into that other dimension. This is, by the way, for those who studied Plato, this is pure Plato. Right? We are completely with Plato here, right? The world of forms versus the physical realm. This is exactly a rerun, right? So, so this is interesting. I find this part interesting in Kant because he's basically saying that we have dual citizenship as human beings. Part of us is natural, part of us is the wolf, part of us is interested in just eating and drinking and, you know, doing whatever, taking whatever is around us. But part of us also belongs to this other kingdom, right? We are aware that there is an ought, that there is, that we are aware of a different law than the law of nature. This is so interesting. Let me say that again, right? We have an awareness of a higher law than the law of nature, which is the law of survival, the law of the wolf. In the natural world, we are living under the law of the wolf. Everybody pushing everybody in order to get where they want to get, right? Just go in the subway and you'll see the law of the wolf in you, right? There's no other better place than the subway to find your inner wolf, right? You're pushing people trying to get it, like especially a packed subway. There, it's over. Like you have to get on that subway. You don't care who is left behind, right? This is the wolf. So he's saying, yes, we are this natural wolf-like thing, but we also belong, right? We also belong to this kingdom, which is another law, which is a law of how things ought to be, where you know better than to push your way into the subway. Part of you is like, I shouldn't do that, right? How do you know? Everybody's pushing. Well, you know, because you have a connection to the noumenal realm. Are you following the dual citizenship? Okay, and Siri, you have a question? No? Okay. Okay, so this is, we'll talk about this. Now, what Kant is going to say is that there is a certain tragicness, I invented the word. There's of living in the natural world and living according to another law, right? The moral individual is the person who is keenly aware of the noumenal and is actually following that law, even though they live in the natural. Right? So here you are in the subway and you're late like everybody else and everyone is pushing and you want to push too, but here you are waiting for everyone to get on the subway. In the eyes of everybody around you, you look like a fool, right? This is because you are working according to a different law than the law of nature. And so of course you look like a complete idiot. And so for Kant, the moral person is always going to look like a tragic clown, right? Always going to look like a complete idiot because you are following a different law. And so you look weird here. You're not following the law of survival. And so people look at you like, what is wrong with you? You're never going to get to work, right? You're never going to get on the subway with this attitude, right? And Kant is saying, well, this is because there is a higher law, there is a higher authority, and this is what makes our dignity as human beings, right? This is what makes us superior to the wolf. And so he says, even though yes, we look like idiots, even though we're going to be late to work and we eat less than everybody else, right? This is what inherently marks our dignity as human beings and our superiority to the animal kingdom or to the wolf kingdom, right? I know people don't like the way moderns talk about animals. Like, yeah, but animals have souls too, and animals are nice, right? So when he talks about animal kingdoms, talk about the wolf kingdom, right? So that's just to give you, I think you're starting to see kind of the landscape of Kant's mind, right? So you have a lot of vocabulary, and this should be enough to get you through the whole book, actually, because I've kind of tried to summarize the whole thing. So the main keywords, right? Instinct, reason, happiness, the good, noumenal, phenomenal, is, ought, reason, understanding, other kingdom, right? Kant talks about the kingdom of ends, right? Versus the kingdom of means. Kingdom of means is everything is for you. Kingdom of ends is you have a higher goal than you, right? So that's the idea. Okay, I am done. Super early. Any questions, any comments, any discussion you want to start to? Mhm. Yeah, very good. Good question. Okay, so nominal also, let me explain the Greek word, right? From numen, which means actually mystery, hidden. The nominal is the hidden, right? The phenomenal is the visible. So this nominal realm, this other realm that we belong to, is hidden. We don't see it in the world, right? And yet for Kant, it is what holds the world together. If we lose the nominal realm, everything will devour itself and the phenomenal realm will be destroyed. So the nominal realm actually is at the is the hidden foundation of the phenomenal realm, right? Maybe you can write this down. This is interesting. I never thought of that, but that's what he says actually. The nominal realm actually, even though it's hidden, it's at the foundation of the phenomenal realm. You cannot have the world of phenomenon without this hidden realm, which in a way keeps the balance and the right, that keeps us from devouring each other, right? If we don't have the nominal, we will devour each other, and then like we are doing now, right? If you just want to look at, let's talk about today, right? Here we are with the way that we have become so greedy, we're destroying the universe, right? This world is about to self-destruct, right? Because we have forgotten the nominal realm. We are functioning only according to the law of the wolf. I want more, I want more, I want more, I want more, and we will self-destruct, right? And so because we have lost touch as a humanity in general with the nominal realm, we are really working towards the apocalypse like this. So Kant is saying it's hidden, but it's the foundation, right? Yes.
Does he explain how that's any different from religion? Because like, it's basically the same thing. It's like saying that because heaven exists, we're going to follow what God says.
Except here it's you, it's in you, right? This is the difference. It's not God. You know this, right? This is where Kant is really interesting. He's saying morality is in it. You are hearing this in your own self. Like, let me ask you this. If you're, anytime you're about to do something to hurt somebody else, normally there should be a slight discomfort, right? Correct? This slight discomfort, he says, is the reason, the voice of reason. So it's not even, and you have it whether you are a Christian or a Jew or a Hindu or a complete atheist, you're gonna feel uneasy about stepping over certain boundaries, right? And so that's where it's different from religion, because religion, remember, is saying, we are corrupt, we know nothing, we need God to reveal. God is saying, no, we know. It's in it. We know this. And so you're right, it's similar in the sense that there is this higher way of acting, which is what Christianity teaches, but the difference is that it's coming from us, right? And there's no more authority. It's simply now attuning. This is what Kant is doing in his work. The purpose of the groundwork is to help us become more attuned with this voice, which has become very soft-spoken. The voice of instinct now has taken over in this world. We are speaking very loudly. It has platforms, right? And I won't say where or who or whatever, right? But it's loud, right? So we need to recover us. We need to be able to attune ourselves again to this other voice. And that's why he writes the book, not so much to teach us how we should think or act, not at all. He's saying, you have this, but I want you to become more aware of it. I want you to hear it better. I want to refine your hearing so you can begin to be aware of that part which is in you, and reconnect more powerfully to the nominal. You see what's happening? Does that answer your question?
I have a question.
Yes.
Like you said it's from religion, but you're saying Kant is saying it's within us, we know. But like when we were growing up, we were taught from religion not to hurt. So is that where we're learning from? But like when you're young, you don't know what's good or bad.
So some people would make that argument, right? That, we are all thinking like this because we were taught by religion, or religion still in the mindset of people. Nietzsche said that, right? We're still religious, even though we've discarded, right? But, and that's a fair point. Kant would argue that actually you would find this hesitation across the world, even in people who have no religion, right? You would find the hesitation to kill or the hesitation to lie or cheat. So for Kant, and this is interesting, and this is very modern, reason is shared equally. We all know the same thing. There's no moral relativism in Kant. It's very interesting. We're going to talk about that. There's no moral relativism. Everybody in this classroom, no matter what your background is, you hesitate before killing, right? And so that's where he says reason is shared. So in that sense, he would argue even the foundation of religion actually is the inner voice, right? He would argue that religion is a creation, not of God, but of the inner voice who then projects, creates stories and so forth. So that would be the reverse argument, right? Yes. What? No. What is your last name? Mackenzie? Okay, good. Yes, I'm trying to learn your name also. So good, got you. Yes. Go ahead, Rodriguez.
So does he talk about how to become more aware of his voice or reason?
Does he talk away? Are you saying does he talk about how to become more aware of reason?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. In the fact that he's gonna describe, right? This is what instinct sounds like. This is what reason sounds like. And it's really, yes, so we'll get into that, how to recognize, because, and I'm going to give you some examples in the class where you will be actually confused at times. Is this reason or instinct talking? And some of you will be like, no, that's reason. And then when we scratch a bit, you'll be like, that was instinct. So it's hard to distinguish the two. And so in the book he's writing is to help us begin to see clearly the voice of instinct, what it sounds like. Even sometimes it masquerades as reason. So see, we're going to be able to distinguish clearly, that's reason for sure. And that's instinct for sure. So that's the goal of the book. So yes, and once you can distinguish what they sound like, then you can become more in tune with the voice of reason, right? Good. Anything else? These are really good questions. Yeah, the more you ask, the more I give, right? Sometimes I forget. So you enable me to go to develop. So that's really good. Okay. Anything else? Shall we call it a day? Okay, good. Yes?
What do we have to do for next week?
Okay, so for next week, so you have your first reading. So the first reading assignment. So remember the reading assignment is 1 page, single space, 4 paragraphs, 2 questions, 2 critiques about whatever you read. And you need to put that in the drive, right? You can do it via Blackboard. You go to the tab called Assignments and Grades, and you put it in the Reading Assignments folder. PDF, please, guys, PDF.
Is it due by this Saturday or next Saturday?
No, that's the test. I'm sorry, Reading Assignment is due before class, right before class. Yes, you're welcome. All right, guys, I'll see you later.